We're ready for another episode of Healthcare Horrors. I'm Ashley Boyce, a brand specialist at Atlas MedStaff.
I'm Alicia Carasella, a training and development specialist here at Atlas MedStaff.
And I'm Atlas MedStaff at Dolan Delano on the knobs.
Oh. Okay.
Nice to meet you, Alice.
Nice to meet you, Ashley.
Thanks, bro.
Whoa, this is getting weird.
Who did we talk about last time?
Efrain Saldivar.
And he killed people, maybe 200, we said?
And if you want to know how, go listen to the last episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're not going to tell you.
Gross.
It is gross.
Yeah, it is. He sucks.
But this next guy we're going to talk about also sucks.
Mm-hmm. It's not often we talk about someone who doesn't on this show.
It's true.
John Dale Caveness, JDC, that's what I call him, because his name is honestly just a mouthful. So his date of birth is actually unknown. All we know.
Wait, I think I know it.
What? Really? Because I looked everywhere for it.
It's in the book.
Oh,
What?
the book.
Okay, tell me what it is.
I have October 15th, 1925.
Okay, because all I have is 1925, October 15th. Zodiac. Okay, I need his zodiac real quick.
Ah. He is a
Libra also.
Libra.
So we just talked about Libras on the last episode. Supposedly they're very honest and smart and charming and wonderful human beings who have a lot to offer.
Okay. So really checks out for...
This guy pretends to be charming, so part of it kind of checks out in a weird way.
Dark side of a Libra. I want to know. They can be extremely manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much it. They don't like confrontation.
I feel like charming comes with manipulative
Charming
people.
and manipulative, yeah.
And I don't like charming people. People say someone's charming. I'm like, gross. All right. So he was, thank you for that,
Sorry to all of those people who are charming and actually charming.
All right. So thank you for that. He was born on October 15th, 1925 in El Dorado, Saline County, Illinois. So,
Wait, where?
El Dorado, Illinois.
See, I have Little Egypt. What is going on?
Little Egypt is a nickname.
Oh,
for the area.
perfect.
Little
Perfect.
Egypt, Illinois.
Yeah.
It's a nickname.
Okay, cool.
So, JDC was well liked by his patients, in the Little Egypt area of southern Illinois.
Because he's charming.
He was an old school doctor, which in the 1970s was becoming something very rare, and he made house calls and sometimes even waived fees or for patients who were unable to pay. So despite his heavy workload, his patients never felt rushed, but that was only in public. It was a professional persona.
Mm-hmm.
According to his family, he was mean-spirited and a drunk who usually took out his frustration by yelling at his wife and 4 boys and beat them up with his fists and threw things that would break all around the house. So we'll talk about his family and all that good stuff. So his early family life was married, got divorced in 1951, back on the market, met a nurse named Marion Newberry. After a very quick time getting to know each other, they wed in 1952. JDC provided for his family, which rapidly grew into 4 sons. The family lived in a luxurious home in Harrisburg, Illinois, which is the heart of what is known as Little Egypt.
Learn something new.
Yes, thank God it wasn't like some other city like Chicago. All right, so in his free time, Dale enjoyed tending to his livestock at Hickory Handle Farms in El Dorado, and his sons would often come with him and help him farm. I just scroll all the way down. Cool. Anyways, things
He
are
was
going
a
well.
Doctor farmer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Farmer.
Busy man.
That his farming that was like his hobby.
Okay.
So behind closed doors, it was like a horror movie, basically. So he enjoyed drinking a lot, and he wasn't at home. He wasn't like this friendly person. He presented to his patients, and his family actually suffered a cruel, bitter Dale, because I call him Dale, whose slurred tongue rolled off insults while his healing hands became a creator of bruises. So he was a real jerk.
Mm-hmm.
If he wasn't beating up his wife or his boys, he could be found out and about, bedding an assortment of women. So something his wife and his parents attempted to discuss with him and put to an end, but he didn't listen. So in 1972, Dale's drinking caught up with him, and he killed a 10-month-old baby and a father in a 3-car accident, which was a result of him being intoxicated. So he was charged with driving under the influence and unlawful possession of loaded weapons. After entering a guilty plea, he got 2 years of probation and only a $1,000 fine. So, pretty light sentence for the doctor here.
Yeah. Drunk driving, you kill a father, their 10-month-old daughter, and then the wife was comatose for several days. Like, I can't imagine waking up and that's the news you hear.
So
It's
he's
sad.
He's an a-hole.
Don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
And it was like on, I think their 1 year, him and what's her name, Marion,
Yes, Marion.
on their 1 year wedding anniversary is like when he started beating her, to the point where she would have fractures and go around town with black eyes, and she actually had a broken arm from him, and yeah, was just as cruel to the boys. Did you have anything on his parents? Because he kind of comes from a hard childhood, so I guess this kind of makes sense. His mother was a strict Calvinist, and I had to look that up. It's like, I don't know what this is. Is it a religion? Is it a cult? Do you know what it is?
Yes.
Do you want to explain it?
So, a Calvinist is somebody who believes in the Bible in a literal sense. So that's, I can go deep into it, but that's pretty much it. Like, you believe in the Bible word for word. Nothing is really a metaphor, if you will.
So nothing is subject for interpretation.
Correct. And it's more so like the older belief systems of the Bible that you would hold so close.
He
Yep.
comes from a mean household.
Yeah.
A mean mama.
So having severe moral standards and considering pleasure to be wrong or not necessary. And growing up, he attracted bullies because his mother also dressed him a certain way. And his father was a railroad worker. And whenever JDC was bullied and like crying at home about it, his father would just tell him to toughen up and would beat him for crying. So JDC was learned that he had to fight back from his father. So fighting off these bullies, I guess he realized that he's actually pretty good at fighting. Like, I guess he was maybe slightly bigger dude, I don't know, and became a fighter. And throughout school, he was also smart. So that's when his mother gave him the idea to pursue medicine. Yeah. And then ends up marrying his high school sweetheart for a short amount of time.
And so that's who he divorced. Got
Yeah.
it.
So after, I don't know. Did you have more on his background?
I have about his Marion leaving him and then his sons that are struggling.
Gotcha. I guess just really quick, he was enrolled at Ohio University, gets a divorce from his first wife, shortly after marries Marion, And she was actually a nurse when he met her, and then he brings her back to Illinois and then like forbids her from pursuing her nursing career so she can just take care of the children. Then he starts beating her. So
Well,
typical narcissist.
yeah. Well, and to understand like that way of thinking, we're just talking about Calvinism. It's very common for somebody who is a Calvinist to believe that like the male figure in the household is, but then on the flip side that they, I guess, are responsible for the sins committed by their wife or their kids. So a lot of times, especially back then when it was very, very, very common and very strict, you would have men who would, you know, discipline their wife and kids that way, and it would be seen as like, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because they're like, I don't know, not supposed to see pleasure as necessary or whatever, and then he's just like wooing and sleeping around with the nurses that work for him, and then as soon as he gets to take advantage of them, he just kind of belittles them to public, so there's a high turnover rate working for him.
My guess is
up.
that is why he drinks so much, right? And
Probably.
if that's the way he was raised, and if you've ever, you know, we all had friends who couldn't do anything in high school, and they turned out to be the craziest people we know, who did the craziest things. Everyone who had real strict rules went opposite, real hard. So if you're told you can't have something, even in moderation, what do? You apparently run at it full force. So yeah, so it sounds like his parents are really mean, and of course they raised a child who is now a grown man who beats people and bullies people because he has no skills or coping skills and just is an alcoholic.
Well, and he's used to it, and it's normal, and
How he was brought up.
So after this whole DUI situation where he literally murders a father and child in this car accident, Marion has had enough, and she moved to St. Louis, and she took the 2 older boys with her. Well,
She have 2 or 4?
They have 4. I thought 2 are from the previous marriage. Maybe I'm wrong. But so she took all the Caveness boys with her. And so 2 of them, Mark Dale Caveness struggled with his parents' divorce. He began hanging out with the tough crowd and experimenting with smoking weed and drinking alcohol. Eventually, Mark dropped out of school altogether, moved back to Illinois with JDC, and he was outraged by Mark and declared to anyone who would listen that Mark was no good for nothing pot smoker.
No, he moved back to be with his dad, and then his dad's just, I don't know, I don't understand it.
So this starts, it caused Mark to sink into a deeper depression, and all his self-medicating methods increased in frequency, and this is really something that's gonna set John Dale Caveness off.
So Mark moves back in with his dad, and then Marion and her 3 sons decide to visit Mark on Easter in 1977, and they wait around the house for him for several hours before deciding to search the property and look for him. Eventually, after searching the farm, they find Mark's abandoned truck with dried blood all over it, and his body is nearby, horrifically scavenged by animals. And because the scene is so old and so many animals have rummaged through it, they just ruled the death as an accident. Like, they couldn't really prove any sort of foul play.
For Mark? I think that, hold on, I read something, let me scroll through my notes here, we'll get there. So I read that Okay, so Marion was concerned and insisted that he return to St. Louis, where he had more resources to get help with his like addictions and stuff. And then she said Easter Sunday, Mark agreed to visit with his mother and younger brothers. When they returned to Illinois, Mark never showed up, so they searched for him, and they went to Dale's farm, where he was living in a trailer. And then a knock on the door. When they went there, nobody answered. But his Jeep was parked in the driveway. And it says here that before his younger brother Sean reached the vehicle, he found his brother dead in the tall grass surrounding the driveway. And they said that, what did I read? Something, medical examiners established, so they say that could have been dead somewhere around 12 hours during that time. Animals had ravaged his body. Medical examiners established that the cause of death was a point-blank shotgun blast to the chest.
Okay.
So,
I do remember reading something later that there was a gun involved because they were trying to also see, like, was it a suicide? Was it foul play?
So they say some investigators believed it was an accident, theorizing that a wire hanger in his truck had poked the trigger guard of his shotgun and set it off, which I doubt. So, So they're saying it was likely a shotgun blast.
Okay. Either way, after this, Dale, his father, receives a payout of $40,000 due to a life insurance policy that was so conveniently taken out on Mark before he was killed or committed suicide or whatever happened. Dale was, what do we call him? JDC.
JDC.
JDC was a nuisance. He was falling more behind on money. So during all of his like drinking and I don't know, cheating with other nurses and stuff, he was also really into get rich quick schemes and borrowing money and this and that. Obviously, if he's taking life insurance policies out on people, it's usually they are desperate for money and will do anything for it. So, again, patients, during all of this, patients love him. They think he's kind and attentive. But due to the financial strain, JDC persuades his other 3 sons to allow their father to take a life insurance policy out on them as their main beneficiary. And all 3 sons agreed to doing it. And that was sometime in 1984. And shortly after, the life insurance policies are taken out on them. They all go back home. They're all, when they found Mark dead, they were all in like their upper teens. So I think by this point in 1984, they're like in their 20s. They're, for the most part, living on their own, or at least his son Shane is. So December 12th, 1984, JDC makes a surprise visit to his son Shane, and Shane isn't home, so he waits outside Shane's home, and a nosy neighbor decides to write down Dale's license plate number because they don't know who this person is. He's just kind of hanging around the neighborhood, never seen him before. Sometimes it's good to have a nosy neighbor, at least in this case. So Shane, is it Shane or Sean? S-E-A-N.
Sean.
Okay.
S-E-A-N?
S-E-A-N.
Yeah, Sean.
Sean. Darn it. I'm saying it wrong the whole time.
That's okay.
Do you want me to start that whole part over again?
No.
All right.
Sean. His
Shane,
name's Sean.
Sean.
We'll go with Sean.
Sean.
This tracks for this podcast, so it's okay.
Cool. Wait, what is that supposed to mean?
We are always saying words wrong, every single one of us.
Sean eventually gets home, greets his father, and they go inside. The next day, his body is found in a neighboring town by a farmer, and Sean was shot twice in the head. The investigation began, and when JDC was questioned, he tried saying that he hadn't seen Sean until the neighbor came forward who wrote down his license plate number. And that's when JDC changed his story, saying that Sean killed himself, that he did visit his son, and I don't know, they went out drinking, they went for a drive. Apparently, Sean gets out of the truck and says, "Tell Mom I'm sorry," and kills himself right in front of his father. That's what he's saying now.
If that's true, why didn't you tell anybody?
Why would you lie about that to begin with? But detectives saw holes in his story. The autopsy, what?
Really?
The autopsy showed that Sean was definitely shot from a distance, not point blank, and had a lot of alcohol in his system. Also, the fact that JDC was seen at a Christmas party that same night, instead of like notifying authorities that he just witnessed his son commit suicide, was kind of off-putting. And had this all fallen through and JDC not been a suspect or anything, he would have received a $100,000 payout.
Wow.
For Sean's death.
And it sounds like Sean was struggling with addiction issues as well.
Yeah. I think they all kind of were a little bit. It was a rough upbringing.
So then he's, probably trying to use that as part of why he killed himself.
Yeah.
But he didn't, because his dad murdered him.
Yes, for that money. JDC was to be charged, and patients couldn't believe it. They even tried starting a campaign to get their doctor free, because just no one could believe this was happening. But there was so much evidence against him. They found a whole bunch of weapons at his home, suggesting that he was going to plan a murder spree, or had planned a murder spree. His son Kevin even comes forward and testifies that his father tried killing him in his sleep by removing gas taps on a stove in a caravan. And then they had the solid forensic evidence from Mark's body that it wasn't a suicide. So you think this is all enough to put him away. But due to Dale, JDC, passing a polygraph test, the judge declares a mistrial, and Dale is briefly let go.
Told you, you can pass him.
Narcissist, manipulative, was able to pass.
As long as you can just control your heart rate, you're good to go.
That's so crazy.
I used to do this thing in middle school. We would wear like this chest thing, and then it would come with a watch, and it would monitor your heart rate or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's for exercise.
Yeah, and you had to, so we would wear that in PE or whatever, and then we would write down our average heart rate at the end, and it would like grade you or whatever. I figured out how to slow my heart rate and like go fast. Like when we would put it on, I would just like,
oh my gosh,
slow down my breathing, and it would go down, and then I would try to like hyperventilate, and then it would go back up.
You didn't have to exercise?
Yeah, no, I just it was something I figured out, and then I got like 2 or 3 other kids in my class like doing it too.
So you probably could have passed the polygraph
probably
test.
Just think about baseball or anything like that. Doesn't matter.
What?
Like when you're trying to lie, think about something like
that doesn't really matter
that you're not
to you.
like just puppies or cats or whatever,
Yeah.
something that's not going to get your heart rate going.
Now I want to talk about Tito, the 6-week-old red husky that I met at the dog park.
I'm sorry, I'm obsessed also. What?
I'll show you pictures later. Anyway, focus. Cha. Retrial. There was a retrial in November 1985, and the jury was most definitely not on his side. They only took 3 hours of deliberation to find JDC guilty, and they wanted to give him the death penalty. January 1986, JDC gets transported to Missouri's Jefferson City Penitentiary on death row. but he decided to go on his own terms, and November 16th, 1986, JDC decided to hang himself in his cell.
Oh, why do I hate that so much?
Yeah.
Because he's a...
Yeah.
I will say, so...
You know what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Instead of lethal injection, which, I mean, it seems like a pretty painless, peaceful way to go.
It's expensive.
I don't know if they have the electric chair or not. I don't know how he was going to be killed, but the way
Not with a shotgun.
Yeah. The way he decided to kill himself, though, by hanging himself with a wire, that would take a long time and be painful. So I guess there's that.
Yeah, right.
But still, the fact that he decided to do it on his own. But whatever, just get him out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's the same result. I
see what you're saying.
There's something about, like, the justification or like the justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something about justice where, I mean, he just brutally, shot his own children, and, he treated his wife like crap and just was terrible. And then, he still got to choose when he went out,
So instead of taking what was coming to him for his choices, he just said, no, I'm done.
Yep. It's just, scum.
What a loser.
What a loser. I wonder what his other sons are doing. And
probably struggling deeply.
But I hope they got the help that they needed.
Yeah, me too.
And Marion.
Yeah. God, how could you do that to your own children? I just, as a parent myself, could never.
Children or your wife or spouse.
It's like literally anybody.
Yeah.
So terrible.
It's icky. Don't do anything that John Dale Caveness would do.
No, don't do that.
Yeah.
Next time, though.
Who are we talking about next time?
Another JBA.
JBA.
John Bodkin Adams.
Which, there should be a lot of stuff on him. The name sounds really familiar, so
I briefly, I'm like, this story doesn't sound familiar, so I doubt this is a repeat. We should keep a list. Do we have a list?
Yeah, it's on Spotify. You just go up and down it.
No, I know we haven't talked about him yet,
No,
but
I don't think so. I don't know.
I just know his name sounds familiar.
Really?
So cool.
Okay, all right.
Well, we're gonna sign off, and I'm gonna show you pictures of cute puppies.
Can't wait.
There was also like a hairless, I don't remember the actual name of this dog, but another name for him is hairless Mexican dog.
What?
They're super crazy looking.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna show you a picture.
Were you
of
here
them, too.
when there was a recruiter who worked here who would bring a hairless dog in all the time?
No. Gross.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, cool.
Murder.
Thank you for listening to Healthcare Horrors, brought to you by Atlas MedStaff. Just a reminder, we are not healthcare professionals. We are just fans of true crime, talking about some of history's darkest moments in healthcare. Stay tuned, stay healthy, and stay safe.